All right, welcome everybody. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time where I live, and we're going to go ahead and get started. This is U.S. History Semester 2, and if you're in quarter 4 as well, this is a study session for October 18th, 2018. My name is Mrs. Gonzalez, and welcome. So before we actually get started with today's final exam review, I want you to go ahead and make sure that you're signing in if you haven't already. I see that we have one student that has. And sign in using your first name. Send me a private chat if you don't have your last name on there. That way I know who to give extra credit to. And then make sure that your microphones and your video are either muted or off. That reduces background noise. I think what I did today is I did go ahead and I muted everybody. So if you want to chime in on audio when the time's appropriate, feel free to unmute yourself using your control options there. And then you want to do if you can't access all the navigation buttons, make sure you exit the full screen. That usually helps me a lot out. And then, of course, I would like to know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me, send me a chat and say, yes, I can hear you, or unmute yourself and say, yes, I can hear you, because that's really important that I'm being heard.
I can hear you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Cooper. And I did get your chat. All right, so expectations for these study sessions, please participate and ask questions. We're doing these for you. I'm not doing it for myself, although it does help me by helping you so that you're getting through your assignments and your final exams. If at any time you can't see what I'm talking about, you can't see my screen, it went missing, or if I'm not on the right screen, let me know. This does happen. We're not perfect as teachers. And then, of course, be respectful of others. Everybody has different abilities, different questions, so we all learn in different ways. So keep that in mind as you listen to others or you see comments from others. All right, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to spend the first 15 minutes or so, and this is estimated, an estimated timeline. This isn't exact, so we're going to go over general final exam study tips, what to expect from all final exams, what the rules are, what the expectations are. Then we're going to do some Q&A. Then the second half of this class, we are going to go ahead and actually practice, and we're going to see questions from the final exam. I am going to provide you all with the essay questions. I don't want those to be a surprise for you, so we will do that. And then we'll have questions at the end. If for some reason you need to leave, this is being recorded, so you can always get the recorded link. We have a YouTube channel, and you can always contact me and say, hey, I need the link to the recording for Thursday's session. Can you please send it to me? And then that way you can just skip to what you missed. So if for some reason you gotta leave, that's okay. I totally understand. Just keep in mind, you can always resume watching the recorded video later. Let me make sure I am recording. Yes, I am. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So final exam. This final exam in U.S. History Semester 2 or Quarter 4, there's a total of 38 questions, and there are 35 multiple choice, so types of questions, and then there's 3 short essay. Passing grade for this exam and for all finals is 60%. So if you don't score 60%, you have to retake it. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. We'll talk about what a retake looks like. And the exam is worth 100 points. It's 10% of your overall grade. So keep in mind that if you are hovering between, like let's say an A, a B, if you're right on the line to boost your grade up or make it go down 1 letter grade, then this exam is very important, especially if you're on that DF borderline, then 10% is a big deal. Otherwise, if you're sitting pretty in the class and you're like, I could, cruise through and I get a 60% of this final exam, that's fine too. This is all about your personal goals and what you need to do in order to, graduate. Can you use notes? Yes, for this class and for all final exams. You can use 1 full page, front side only, of notes. What if you don't pass? Let's go back to that. 60% to pass. If you don't pass the first time, you get a second chance. And the questions are very similar. So you should definitely review anything that you missed on the first final exam and study again, and then take it a second time. Always contact your teachers for tips too. If you failed the first time, contact your teachers. Say, what do I need to do to pass this second time? If you don't pass a second time, do not panic. We are here to make sure that you pass. So your teacher will come up with what's called an alternate assessment, and they will message you. They'll probably put it in the comments of the failed final exam, and they'll say, hey, I would like you to do so and so in order to show that you have mastered the objectives in this class. And it could be anything from an essay, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be just redoing a couple of questions to get you up to passing. So each teacher does it differently. So keep that in mind. If you happen to fail the final exam on the second try, you are going to have an alternate final exam that will help you pass the course. Okay, some of the rules and the deadlines. So you have to take this final exam and all final exams in one sitting. You can't save it and then say, I'm gonna come back tomorrow and finish it. You have to take it all in one sitting. There's a time limit of 90 minutes. That should be more than enough. If for some reason you need more, then you need to talk to your academic coach and your teacher in order to set up more time. And this is usually for students that have IEPs. If you're a student that has an IEP, it's called an individualized education plan, then you know, and you know that you can have more than 90 minutes, but that has to be set up in advance. And where and how do you take the final exam? So if you have a local advocate, you have to take it at a meetup. If you do not have a local advocate and you're one of our adult, meaning 21 and older students, then you need to contact your academic coach. I have put the number up there. Usually you receive an email that has this password. If for some reason you have turned everything in, it's been a day or two, and you still can't access the final exam, no password, then make sure you contact your academic coach. They will be able to help you out with that. Okay, there's an expectation that within 30 days of completing your very last assignment in a class that you are going to complete the final exam. That is the expectation, and that's done for several reasons. It's mainly done with your benefit in mind, because we want you to take the final as soon as possible, so that one, you can remember all the information, because it's proven that if you wait a lot more time to take a final exam, you're going to forget a lot of information. So the sooner you take it, the better. And then also, it's to help you graduate. So if you're putting off final exams and you have like 6 piled up, you're not getting close to graduation by any means. Okay, so you finish the assignments, but you're not getting credits onto your transcripts until final exams are taken and passed. So this 30-day rule is really set up with you in mind. And then of course, there's a 3-month max limit. So a final that's not taken within 3 months of completing a class, you end up having to take the class over from the very beginning. Please keep that in mind. 3 months is excessive. And if you have like a medical condition or you're in the hospital, which there are plenty of students in our program, especially females, who have to go in and give labor and they need to be paused. There are reasonable and valid excuses, but if you don't fall into that category, just make sure that you take your final exam as soon as possible. And then there is there's a limit. So you can only have a maximum of 4 final exams on your dashboard that must be taken. So let's say you finished 4 classes like 2 months ago and you still haven't taken the final. Well, if you have 4 or more overdue final exams, your academic coach is going to put up what's called a gate on your account, and you're not going to be able to add any more classes or make any more progress until you take at least 1 final. And if you cannot access your final exam or have questions about any of these deadlines, again, contact your academic coach as soon as possible. They are the ones that deal and set your original deadlines. It's not your teachers. A lot of students, rightfully so, think that it's your teachers, and no, it's your academic coaches who set deadlines. So any deadlines that are not met or you have questions about, contact them. Your teachers help you with your classes and we can help you reach those deadlines, but academic coaches really are the ones who set those, and that's based on a standard protocol for our program. So there you have it. Okay, how should you study? Well, For this final exam, there is a study guide, and this should be true of all your classes, but just in case there's not a study guide for your class at the end of the course, you do need to contact your teacher and say, hey, how do I study? But I know that in this class, there is a study guide, and it looks like this. So let's take a look. At the very end of your class, once you have turned in every assignment, the final exam section will unlock, and you will see this right here on the right. I put this on the same, I put both of these things on the same screen just so that we could look at them all at once. So you'll see something like this, it's final exam study guide, final exam. You're going to want to click on the final exam study guide. Once you click on that, this will appear. And it says, are you ready for the final exam? Be sure that you can respond to questions on the following topics. And here are all the, I know that's a lot, but I think if you already have a general understanding of this class, you're not going to have to take notes on all of these. Like, let's say you already know a lot about the attacks on 9/11 and why that happened and who was involved and what nations were involved. Well, then you don't need to take notes on that. Maybe you don't know much about Nixon. Take notes on that. So use this to take notes. And again, that's located in the final exam study guide. And if you have not turned in your assignments, then you probably won't be able to access that folder until you actually get all that in. Again, use these as your one page of notes. Take notes. Don't take notes on things that you already know very well. Take notes on the things you don't know. And then, how else to study? Besides the study guide, which is your go-to, review your assignments. Anything that's auto-graded, anything that's a project or an essay, just go in, review, review, review. And then redo anything that you received a low score on. So let's say you did one of the auto-graded assignments. And when I say auto-graded, you could probably think of them as those quizzes that you do really not really quickly, but they give you feedback right away. Those are considered auto-graded, meaning I don't grade those. It's automatically generated by our computer system. So look for feedback on anything that is graded by me, but for the auto-graded work, make sure that you redo something that's like, let's say, under a 60%. Redo that, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna probably change your grade for the better anyway. If you happen to fail it and get a lower score, you're always going to keep the highest grade. So the highest grade attempted will stay on in your grade book. Okay, so again, that's what the final exam study guide looks like. All right, let's go ahead and pause for questions. I know that's a lot of information, but what questions do you have so far? What questions do you have about the final, about all final exams, about this class in general? Do you have any other questions, like maybe how do I contact my teachers? So now is a good time to ask. So I will be quiet and I will see if anybody has questions. And you can either chime in on audio or you can send a chat, and you can also send a private chat. So feel free to ask away and I will wait and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, we do have a question coming in, so let me take a look. How long should this class last? Approximately how many days? You know, that depends. That's a very good question. Everybody kind of does this differently, but when you sign up for classes, you're going to have two different possibilities. So a quarter credit class or a half credit class. And it depends on what section you're in of US history. But a quarter credit class, from my understanding, takes about 25 to 30 hours per week to complete. And I've had students complete those classes in a week up to 2 weeks. A half credit class will probably take you anywhere from 2 at the very minimum to 4 weeks. I do know that classes are due at the end of in a 30-day cycle. So so long as you are meeting your deadlines set up by your academic coach, then you are on task. I'm trying to think of the fastest I've had somebody finish a quarter credit class. It's been in a few days, to be honest with you. But for the half credit classes, because there are a lot of units, it does take a little bit longer. I would say would probably, if that's all you did, if you cranked out assignment after assignment, day after day, you could probably do it in about a week and a half, but that's like really, working hard. So again, the ultimate deadline is 30 days. So that's how long you have to complete a class once it's assigned to you, not from when you start it. So it's once a class is assigned to you. So just because a class was assigned a week ago and you just got started, it doesn't mean you have 30 days to go. But if you're not sure about your due dates, that's definitely an academic coach question. So yeah, that's how long. You should be working each class, again, about 25 to 30 hours per week. I also had a question about how many credits are required for history. I'm so sorry, I'm going to keep saying this because your academic coaches do a lot as it is already. It depends on your okay, there's several things. It depends on your graduation requirements from your district. There's going to be a couple of other factors, but mainly it depends on what school you attend, what district you attend, and what their graduation requirements are. Some schools require that you take 4 years of social studies classes. So it could be that you're taking world history, US history, US government, and economics. And sometimes what's thrown in there with US history is a state history class. And sometimes you get world geography. So it just depends on what your district in particular requires. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, most students who are a high school student in high school right now, so of high school age, are now required to take about 4 years of social studies classes, whereas I know in the past, for me speaking personally, I'm older, I only had to take about 3 years worth. But if you love history and you love social studies, you can decide to take social studies classes as an elective. So let's say you got all your requirements done for social studies. Well, there's plenty of other social studies classes available that might not have been required by your school that you can take. Like I know we have like psychology classes, personal psychology, sociology, social problems. If you don't have to take economics, then you could take economics as an elective. So yeah, if you're interested in electives, you could definitely add more social studies classes. Otherwise, going back to the original question, contact your coach. You might actually be able to see it from your dashboard. I don't know if you should have access to your learning plan, and on your dashboard there should be an area where you can see like all your credits and your credit requirements. That's a good place to start and then verify with your academic coach. So very good question. Hope I answered it. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Again, feel free. I don't mind, even, like I said, questions like that about credits and whatnot. That's what I'm here for. Okay. If not, we'll have another Q&A session at the end of this class or of this study session. So feel free to ask then. So we're going to move right into the final exam. All right, these are sample questions. Again, these are on the final exam. So this is great because you're going to have at least 2 answers, and the rest I'm not going to give you the answers to. But I'm going to give you a series of sample questions. So you're going to see multiple choice type questions. And one example of a multiple choice is this one. What scientist was in charge of creating the first atomic weapon? And you're going to be given A, B, C, or D options. Is it A, Bill Nye, B, Thomas Edison, C, J. Robert Oppenheimer, or D, none of the above? So I'm going to give you a chance to guess. Or if you don't have to guess, if you know, that's great. All right, so let's take a look at the answer. What scientist was in charge of creating the first atomic weapon? The answer is C, J. Robert Oppenheimer. So that's just one example of a multiple choice question with an answer. Okay. Another type of multiple choice question is a multiple answer. So in this example, when did the second Red Scare in the United States take place? Was it A, after World War II? Not skipping right to D. B, during the 1950s, C, after the Cold War was over, or D, both A and B. So if you look, you're given 3 single options and then 1 double option. So what do you think? Is it A, B, C, or D, both A and B? Okay, so when did the second Red Scare in the United States take place? The correct answer is D, both A and B. So that was after World War II and during the 1950s. All right. There's also true or false. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. So there are true and false questions, and this one asks the SALT agreements aim to increase the amount of nuclear weapons produced by the Soviets and Americans. So I'm not going to tell you the answer to this one, but at least you're going to have this question, and you can look it up after we are done here, and you're given either an A, true, or B, false. So that's another example of a type of question on the exam. Okay, now we get into the essay questions, which I am going to prepare you for them, help you prepare for them at least. And these are worth a little bit more than the other questions. And they're important because they show your understanding of these events in your own words. So that's the nice thing, is that you can use your own words to tell me, for example, what the causes of the Cold War were. So for this essay question, it says in 4 to 6 sentences, describe 2 major causes of the Cold War. Where can you find this information? This information is in Unit 1 and 2. So there is a folder that says Origins of the Cold War. So you could just probably look at that and find a couple of causes right there, but there were multiple, so it's always a good idea to review those units. I have provided, you're going to see this when you go to your essay questions, you're going to see something that looks like this, and it's going to show how you're going to be graded. So if you look, there's 2 different ways that you're going to be graded. One is by sentence length, because if you look, it says in 4 to 6 sentences. It tells you how many you need. So you're going to be graded by the number of sentences, and then also the examples. So you've written 4 to 6 sentences, and when it comes to examples, you've given 2 major causes of the World War. So you'll look, there it says underneath how you're gonna be graded, it says whether you met, it says does not meet yet. So you're gonna score 0 to 16 points if you have written less than 3 sentences and your response is not on topic. Meeting expectations, you're gonna get 16 to 32 points, and exceeding expectations of 32 to 50 points. The 50, don't worry about the 50 points, 100 points applying to your total grade. That's just how this particular question is made up. This test is not worth 1,000 points, it's worth 100 points. I'm not quite sure who created this rubric, why they decided. I think it's like 0.50 of maybe 1 or 2 points, but I apologize for not knowing that exactly, but I do know that they're worth a little bit more. I'll try to find out, and I'll get back to you all about how many points exactly this is worth. But again, it's not worth 50 points because the overall test is worth 100. Examples. So let's look at the second part of this example. So you've given 2 examples. If you've given 2 examples, then you're going to exceed the expectations. That should say 2 examples because it asks you 2 examples. So I'm not sure why that says 3. Looks like this class needs some editing. All right. And then if you meet the expectations, you've given 2 examples. Like, they're good. They're not great, but they're 2 examples. And then if you have not met the expectations, then one or less example has been provided. So again, in 4 to 6 sentences, describe the 2 major causes of the Cold War. Okay. The next essay question is, what event of the 20th or 21st century had the most impact on American society? Now, this is a personal answer. This is not, hi Rachel, thanks for joining us. We're just in the essay section of the final exam practice. So this is not a right or wrong answer, and keep that in mind. Think of it this way. What do you think, which event do you think had the most impact on American society? And you can choose any topic covered in this class. And the grading is going to be very similar. So you're going to have a rubric there that tells you basically how to pass, what you need to do. So you have to have at least 4 to 6 sentences and have 3 examples. 3 details that back up your response to what event was the most important and impactful on American society. So that is essay question number 2. Okay, and essay question number 3. And it says 6, Rachel, in case you're wondering, because we've gone through a total of 6 questions from the final exam. So essay question number 3. So again, a total of 3 essay questions on this exam, and this will be the last one. The question asks, what were Ronald Reagan's policies on the Soviet Union, communism, and America? So now we're taking a look at about the 1980s. So you have to write 4 to 6 sentences. Again, there's going to be what's called this rubric located within that question, and you'll be able to see what you need to write in order to meet a passing grade. So where can you find this information on Ronald Reagan's policies? Unit 4. So again, what were Ronald Reagan's policies on the Soviet Union, communism, and America? Make sure you're writing 4 to 6 sentences and that you are using information from the lessons, from the class, to back up your answer. All right, so I know that was really quick. I apologize, but I think having those 3 essay questions, they're just going to be huge, a huge benefit for you, because you're not going to have to sit there and try to recall from memory. You're going to be like, oh, I already know this already because I was prepared for this. And then, of course, using that final exam study guide where I showed you that's located in the final exam folder once all of your assignments have turned in, using that as your study guide and using that to take to your final exam for notes, you're set, basically. You are ready for this final exam. So let's go ahead and take some questions. What questions do you have about the final exam? And if you have another question about the class, feel free to ask. And also, what other types of study sessions would you like to see in the future for this class and for social studies? So I'll go ahead and take questions. You can either chime in using the audio, so you'd have to unmute yourself, or you can send a chat to me privately or to the group. So we'll go ahead and take some questions. Okay, if you come up with questions, still got a couple minutes, so ask away. But I want to thank you all very, very much for attending today. Contact me if you need more help, or if you even would like a copy of these slides. The video link will probably take a couple of days to be available. Probably won't be ready till, I would say, maybe Monday. If it's available before then I will send it out to you, but I probably will send out the link next week. Again, if you haven't heard from me, feel free to contact me for the slides and for the link starting next week. If you haven't already, please send me a private chat with your first and last name. So Rachel, I see you joined in, and thank you very much for joining, but I do need your last name so that I can apply extra credit to your class. And Cooper, I have your last name, so you will be receiving extra credit. Okay, there is my contact information. I know some of you might not be in my classes because there are different social studies teachers, different US history teachers. So feel free to contact me anyway. I'm online Monday through Friday during regular school hours, and my office hours are up there 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. So if for some reason your teacher is not online or you can't get a hold of them, because I have taught most of these classes, or because I'm the teacher for this same exact class, I can help you out. So I don't think you'll be, if you're not in my class, you won't be able to reach out to me through chat, but you can send an email, you can call me, you can text me at that number on the screen, and I'll be more than happy to help. My students otherwise can contact me any of those ways. The easiest way, of course, is just to send a chat from your class. If you don't know how to send a chat from your class, let me know. I'll be able to help you out with that. I could send you a video on how to locate your chat options. But other than that, if nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this early. Thank you all very much for attending. And again, contact me if you do need anything, if you have any questions. All right, thank you and have a great day, everybody.